Who was Britain's first Prime Minister? Team, panel, friends.
Wasn't it Walpole?
Walpole? Oh, no. Shame on you. No, it wasn't.
Lord Snooty.
Pitt.
Ah, but you meant the younger. Yes, you meant
Pitt
the
the
younger.
elder was a tree, wasn't he?
Was it some sort of king that proclaimed himself the Prime Minister before he handed over power?
No, he was a politician. It was in the last
Oliver
century.
Cromwell?
Oh, it was 100 years ago, almost exactly, that he became Prime
Disraeli?
Minister. 100 years ago. Oh, well, never mind. No. 100 years ago would be 1905, wouldn't it?
This show favours people who know stuff.
No, it's so
Would it be
unfair.
someone like Roosevelt MacDonald?
No, he was a bit later. 1905 to 1908.
Campbell Bannerman.
Henry Campbell Bannerman. Well done, thank you, absolutely. Henry Campbell Bannerman. He's not perhaps the best known of our Prime Ministers, but he ought to.
He was one of triplets as well.
He was actually a very good Prime Minister. He introduced old age pensions, he fought for the poor.
He was the first Prime Minister. What were they called?
They were called First Lord of the Treasury before that. He was the first one to be called Prime Minister.
First Lord of the Treasury?
Yeah, they're still First Lords of the Treasury if they're Prime Minister, but they're Prime Minister and First Lord of the Treasury. Now, before they were simply... They used the word Prime Minister sometimes as an insult, but they were never called Prime Minister until 1905.
What was Ethelred the Unready?
He was a king. Yes, yes. His last words, Henry Campbell Bannerman, were, "This is not the end of me." The term Prime Minister was first officially used in 1905, just 5 days after Campbell Bannerman became one. And Sir Robert Walpole, generally recognised as the first de facto. Now, tell me if you can, team, what makes a sound something like this?
Is it a bee under a sink?
Very good. I tell you what, you can hear the same thing giving off a different sound. It's for mothers and younger sons only. But see if you can... It's something Marco Polo heard and was astonished by. I'll play the first one again.
Catagoo-goo.
Here's the first one.
It's Marco Polo.
Is it? I know what it is. It's a sand dune. It's a desert.
Yes! The sound dunes is absolutely right. Congratulations. Very good. Well done. Yeah. Yes, they sounded like the spirits of the desert, dead people, according to Marco Polo, like drums, foghorns, trumpets, even a twin-engine jet plane to others.
Well, how do they make that grasshoppery noise afterwards?
Well, it's once a dune gets dry at about 35 degrees, it has to be, quite precisely. There's this 36 degrees to start. You gave a little grin that just gave you away, but it was very impressive.
Yeah, it's about 35, 36 sometimes.
Yeah, 35 or 36 degrees, and the dry sand starts to fall when the wind comes from the right direction, and the sand underneath begins to oscillate quite violently, and it gives off this low-frequency sound. It can be heard up to 6 miles away, ladies and gentlemen.
Why is there so much sand there?
Because it's a desert.
But normally, sand is by the shore, isn't it? I can get that it's worn away and worn away and worn away to tiny particles. But in the desert, it's just lying around. And how much would they charge for their sand? I mean, if you wanted to sum it.
I don't think they'd charge. I think they'd say, yeah, have it. You know, if you can get it home, take it.
How many grains of sand in the Sahara, do you reckon?
Do you reckon?
I lost count. It's quite a few.
Yeah.
I go up to 17, and it's definitely more than that. Apparently, there are more molecules in a glass of water than there are grains of sand in the entire world.
The Gobi toad lives under the desert, and every 7 years it waits for some rainfall, and they all come up to the surface, they mate, then they go back down again for 7 years.
Wow.
I made up that.
No.
Wow.
Sorry, no, that is very interesting.
Did you not know that?
Certainly have 5 points. I didn't know anything about
great.
the Gobi
That's
toad.
good. I said something Stephen didn't know.
There are more things I don't know than there are molecules in a glass of water. But enough with giraffes, I feel. What's the commonest cause of death amongst mountain... Wow!
Is it snowboarding accidents?
Almost is.
Well, just I would think with those horns, you'd have a devil's own job getting a helmet on.
Is it assassination?
Yeah.
Not...
A lot of them are assassinations.
Yeah.
You said it.
Falling off.
Falling off
Accidents.
mountains.
Accidents.
Would you believe it? They fall off mountains.
Clumsy?
No, they're not clumsy. They're unbelievably nimble and secure and sure-footed, but...
They show off.
No, it's worse than that. What is it?
You get copy drinkers.
3 to 4 times every hour, they...
They flip over like those toys that you wind up.
They try and fly.
They use their horns to...
Scratch their asses.
Fighting.
Fighting.
They fight.
Fighting.
They flip them over.
There they are, look.
Look at that.
And that's what...
They knock
Nobody
each other
goes.
off the mount.
They knock each other off each other's perches, there you are.
Oh, heavens.
Who put them up there?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an example of them. That isn't...
Help!
Hey, look!
Help! It's the fastest growing tree in the world, and they all stand there and it goes...
Oh, dear.
They're going, well, I think we've cleaned this tree off. Let's go, shall we? Very little left here.
I used to be a goat herdsman, so I could get them down for you if you want.
Wouldn't that just be a goat herd?
Sorry?
Wouldn't that just be a goat herd rather than a goat herdsman?
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
When I was a goat herdsman.
I'm a hill.
I was a goat herd manny thing.
Yeah.
I could have got them down for you, no problems.
Could you... What
I know the
technique
call.
What goat herding technique would you have used?
No. Really?
That one moved.
Yeah. That's right.
Why do we say he's a bit of an old goat? Why do we say that? Are they randy?
I think they are quite randy goats.
I could sense after a few weeks they found me more and more attractive.
Do you know why?
Is it because they know we've got money?
Money and
Cars. They're actually quite shallow.
I think they like
They
the
see
fact...
the cars and the sexy clothes and the music and the gold.
They're like wags.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe
Why
I
is it
get balls
What
up.
it is our sweat. Under our arms, we have a sort of goaty smell, and female goats go mad for it. So if you wish to attract a female goat, a nanny, yep, that's it. Just waft a bit of your underarm at her.
Well, I used to be in the forest with 26 goats and I never got one approach.
Not a nibble. Nothing.
Now I feel quite hurt.
Yeah. Now, what's the commonest metal in the human body?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
Iron.
Iron? Oh dear, no.
I think it's mercury.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I think it must be calcium.
Oh no, he's got it! He's got it, it's calcium! Absolutely right!
£100. Wow.
Because the bones are mainly calcium phosphate crystals, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wood.
Calcium atomic number 20. Last year I learned all the atomic numbers of all the elements.
Good Lord.
Because I was helping my son to revise. And I've actually tried to forget them as much as I can since then because it's just been so embarrassing
Selenium?
to know them all. Selenium, 30 something.
I have no idea. I know it's close to arsenic because I saw
It's
it in the
34.
film Evolution.
It's 34. Selenium is 34, arsenic's 33.
Very good. Isn't it good?
But
we
calcium,
should
I presume-
really put railings around you and have children come and stare
Calcium, I
at you.
presume, because calcium phosphate is the main constituent of bones.
Indeed, calcium is, as a metal, is almost never found in nature.
Phosphorus is, of course, I think, 15.
Yeah, let's move aside from the slightly more...
You're doing atomic number wheelies now. Wow. You put up outside pubs and go, selenium 32.
Calcium comes from the Latin calx, isn't it? Meaning a stone or a pebble,
yeah.
from which we get calculus and calculation, and recalcitrant, and all kinds of words. There you are. It was discovered in 1808 by Sir
I think
Humphrey
recalcitrant
Davy.
actually comes from calx meaning a hill, not calx meaning it's kicking back.
You're right. You should have points to that. It is indeed from a heel. You're quite right.
Now, this is a team game, isn't it? I'm on his team.
And what's another name for the common cormorant? Yes, Rory.
Sea crow.
Oh, very good. It is. That's the right answer. Any other?
The Latin name is Phylacrocorax.
What are you gonna say?
Can I just give the Latin name? The cormorant is the Phylacrocorax carbo. The shag is Phylacrocorax aristotelis. It doesn't have the white face and the...
This is brilliant. I mean, this is everything I've got
You get
written
called
down.
tosser much?
Only...
Oh, no. Poor Rory.
It's a fair question. I only get called tosser by other people. The reason the sea crow is the actual word cormorant comes from Corvus marinus, which is the Latin for sea crow.
Old swatty.
Yeah. The Phylacrocorax graculus would be... It's the crested cormorant, isn't it? Yes, because the graculus is a jackdaw.
No, a jackdaw is Corvus monedula.
Yes, but it's another word. It's the actual Latin name. The actual Latin name for a jackdaw was graculus.
OK, Stephen, let's not fall out over this, Stephen.
No, it's what the... No, I'm saying real Latin. No, you might be interested. Roman people actually called birds things before they wanted. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Something down there.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
There's a portal into the underworld here. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, I'm impressed with Rory, and I think
I'm
everyone
impressed
else
with
is
you,
too. No, it's just...
I've got a feeling, Rory, that you have pulled.
What conclusion did the great biologist Stephen Jay Gould draw from a lifetime study of fish?
Oh,
Yeah.
they haven't got any legs.
Is that his lifetime study?
Well, no, it wasn't his lifetime study of a fish.
He was...
After a while, they smell.
He's a
Very
bit
good with
thick
shit.
and he just stared at me and they haven't got any legs.
Starfish don't have brains. It's the kind of Louis Walsh of the aquatic world. They really don't have brains, they're starfish.
And they're not really fish, are they, starfish, to be honest?
Well, the word fish is in there, which kind of qualifies them, I think.
Well, is a starfish a fish? Is a jellyfish a fish?
Well, yeah, but...
Cuttlefish a fish?
Yes,
Is
I
a
believe
crayfish?
but the starfish...
Crayfish is a lobster.
There's a division, isn't there, in the world, whether it should be down to sort of experts in biology, whether things are fish, or whether it should be down to menus.
Yes.
Certainly, for example, a crayfish comes under fish in a menu.
He looks like he's reading the sell-by date on that.
He does. Stephen Jay Gould
Small
was
print. Is that
very
him?
great. He's
Is that
dead now.
him?
He's very great. He won a Nobel Prize. He was a paleontologist and an extraordinary biologist. And he came to a conclusion which is...
They can feel no love.
No, that there is no such thing as a fish. A fish has no biological meaning. There is just...
Well, that's so I'm absolutely
That's it,
right.
your
Go
menu.
with menus.
On a menu it does. But in a menu, a fish is not the same as shellfish or seafood, is it?
It often comes in the same bit and separate from pudding.
Things that live in the sea.
How can
Fish and a
something...
pudding are different.
How can something not be something? Something can't be not something, can it? But if you've created a something, then something has to be that something, otherwise you haven't created a something. So it has to be a fish if there is the idea of a fish in the first
I
place.
swear there's a philosophy somewhere.
Slow down, Plato.
There's some sort of ontological argument going there, and of course to us that we use the word fish. But biologically speaking, a salmon is more related to, say, a camel than it is to a hagfish. Like, there are lots of things that fly, like a bumblebee flies, a vulture flies, and there are flying lizards. They're not all birds.
No.
But we call things that swim in the sea fish, and actually, biologically, evolutionarily, they have absolutely nothing to do with each other at all. So, after a lifetime study of fish, biologist Stephen Jay Gould concluded that there's no such thing as a... Where would you put your ladder if you wanted to get into space?
On top of the spaceship, in a rack. A red flag hanging off of it so some other spaceships don't follow you too closely.
It's a conceptual question. How about this? Up against a wall of silence.
You should have railings built round you and people would come and worship you as a kind of modern Buddha. You've got the look, I have to say. No, it's a good look.
Thank you very much.
Buddha look.
Rural Buddhas.
Yeah.
So there, right? Wisdom and cheat cider.
You're saying where you put the ladder, you'd assume, I suppose, the obvious answer is you'd put it on the highest point, like Everest.
Yes, that wouldn't...
It'd be a bit bumpy, wouldn't it? You couldn't get a good foothold on it.
It's sometimes called a space ladder. It's more commonly called a space elevator. It is a genuine idea that has been worked on, and many people believe would have saved the space program an enormous amount of money in various ways, was to build a huge elevator that goes from Earth and is counterweighted at the other end and spin round incredibly fast. But it would be an equivalent of geostationary orbit at the end of it, and you would have elevators on it that would go up and down.
With a phone that didn't work in it. I'm stuck on the... I'm about 87,000 miles.
There's some kind of
beyond Venus.
There's some kind of a door in the roof. Maybe we could...
It was Arthur C. Clarke who particularly believed in this thing, but NASA spent a lot of money on it. But the important point is you would have to do it on the equator, where the Earth goes at its fastest. Because it's the bit, you know, like the end of a record goes faster than the middle, obviously.
What about a series of trampolines? They have a huge trampoline, and then up higher up is another one about half a mile up, and then another one. So it's like a staircase of trampolines going up into space, and then there's a big bouncy castle at the top. And a bloke charging you £1, and you've got to take your shoes off. I'd tell you the best way to get into space. I would tell you, I've just realised it, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I'm going to be so rich. Bubble. A bubble. Get in a bubble, just float up there.
One day.
I mean, a big bubble. I'm not talking about... Not talking about those bubbles you see and think, that's not a bubble. Stupid little one. You call that a bubble, mate? You want to come and see my bubble? No, a big bubble, you get in the bubble and off you go.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Who wants in?
Me.
This is like the Dragon's Den for cranky ideas.
How about this? You could just imagine.
Oh, Bill. Huh? Bill, that's so beautiful.
It's the wisdom of the rural Buddha.
The Dalai Farmer.
Very good.
Excellent.
I've been struggling with that for about 5 minutes. Got to be something in this.
Oh, your synapses are firing beautifully. Use your synapses to fire people into space. Why did it take 300 years to give the giant tortoise a scientific name?
A scientific name?
Yeah, i.e. the Latin name. It turned out to be called Geochelonia, you know.
Is it because they just thought that was pretty good, giant tortoise?
We'll leave it with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah?
No, I was going to say something about which now is unusable. I'm going to have to say it now.
Go on, I thought with it, man.
They thought...
It's better be
They
good.
thought it was a normal tortoise, but closer, was what I was going to say. You see what I mean? But I couldn't get that concept. It's like, would it be actually further away? And a normal one further away would be actually a minute one. Would they mistake a quite far away normal one for a miniaturised one that's a bit ordinary?
Yeah, but the thing that you're saying is that the tortoise could be.
It's a certain way. If they said,
I like it. Oh, go that way.
yeah. If there was like a tortoise over there that was giant, but I for some reason thought it was just there, then I wouldn't think it was giant. I'd think it was just, oh, there's just one there. It was just a normal tortoise there, nothing about that. Oh my God, it's over there and it's back!
It would have to be on a huge beach with no other points of reference.
Well, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Are they...
That's not the reason.
Are they particularly litigious? Now, if you give me a name, I'll sue you.
No, it wasn't that. It's a nice thought again. No, they had another property which was most unfortunate for them to have.
What, the tortoises did?
Yeah.
They were edible.
They were so edible. Anyone, I mean...
Anyone who saw one couldn't stop to think of a name for it. They just had to eat it straight away.
Really one of those...
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called.
Do you know...
Just get one. They're really very good.
There's there's no
We just
Latin
call them
name for the
dinner.
pistachio nut. Exactly the same way. No one can be bothered. Just shut up with your Latin. Eat them. They're brilliant.
That's what happened.
No Latin name for Maltesers.
None of them made it. It's kind of true. None of them made it to London. None of them made it to Europe.
Now this time, we're going to take it and we'll take London.
Leave it. No.
However,
Take it back. People getting up in the
Ferry coming into Dover, there's a bloke going... leaving the door with a tortoise instead.
all right, look. Between 9 of them, we'll eat 8.
And everyone's looking at it and going, come on.
And then the seas become... The days on end, the seas become, there's one tortoise left.
Yeah.
Come on, sir. Come on, we'll go back. Let's just go back and get some more.
Imagine the moment after they've eaten that last quarter. They're sitting there thinking, we are twats.
Even on...
I'm too full.
Even Darwin, on Darwin's last book. There were dozens.
He collected
of...
every species in the world and he ate that one.
They had them all. They did.
I've done all that. I've done all the butterflies, done all the beetles. I'm eating that.
The only descriptions of them are comparing them to chicken, beef, mutton and butter and saying they're how much better they are than all of those things. No one who'd ever eaten tortoise had ever eaten anything better.
Why are they not found?
And the liver and the bone marrow, every part of it was unbelievably delicious.
Whereabouts are they from?
Well, from the tropics
Are
mostly.
there flights over there?
They are now protected. All 12 species.
They're that delicious, they can't be. Well, they just say, yeah, we've protected them. They're all in there. No need to look.
Yeah,
they're fine.
There's a border around them, like North Korea.
Yeah. There's a big pile of shells, like those piles of tyres you see in a scrapyard.
But there were some that survived, however, and let me tell you about a very extraordinary
That
one.
bloke there, he's just befriending that one. Yeah, come over here, my pretty. I'm trying to think of a name for you.
But they are amazing animals, apart from how delicious they are. Adwaita died in 2006, and he was Clive of India's pet. There he is.
Oh, they're 200 years old or something.
255. He was born before Mozart, before the French Revolution, and his death was announced on CNN. I mean, that's a heck of a life,
And
isn't
you can list his achievements on the back of a stamp.
Well, why would he need to
Well, his
achieve
principal
anything?
achievement is it wasn't...
He lived 255 years. People think probably the oldest living creature because they don't live so long out of captivity like most animals, and he was, you know, well cared for. But that is a pretty astonishing
It is quite...
lifespan.
So it lived 255 years and is massive. I mean, I've achieved 50% of that. That's great.
There are 12 species of them, all of them endangered. Well,
They
one...
all taste nice?
Well, I don't know, but it's very sad that they so many were other species were, you know, basically wiped out just because they were so lovely. Not only that, they were also used as water stores. It sounds a weird thing, but they have a special kind of internal bladder that stores water so perfectly that it's drinkable. When you slit them open to cook them, you also get, you know, like a gallon of fresh water.
Wow.
So they would stack them up on boats, tons of them. They'd be stacked up one on the other, and they couldn't move. And they didn't need to be fed for months, so that they actually contributed a lot to whaling and other things because they were used as a foodstuff and a water supply that was just kind of permanent.
So you've got the
on board.
water as well. And imagine if you smash the shell open, there's like a little toy in there, like a Kinder Egg. Like a little game, you've got to get the balls in the holes.
So how do they exist in the wild anyway, if they're so delicious and slow-moving and massive and useful?
They didn't have any natural predators until man discovered them, basically.
Right. So they were evolutionarily complacent.
They were exactly like a lot of island species. They're a lot like that. And it's only man who crosses islands in the way we do
All those
who does it.
ridiculous flightless birds on New Zealand.
Yeah.
Essentially, they got lazy.
Yeah.
They got lazy. What's the point in flying? Now, some of them go, we'll need it one day. I bet we'll need it one day. Nah. You're too anal, you are. Just walk around, it's easier.
Yeah. Anyway, despite being discovered in 1535, giant tortoises weren't properly catalogued by science until the early 19th century because they were so delicious that no samples ever... So, apart from the Bible, what do you suppose was the most successful, the best-selling book in all of England in the 16th century? Jupiter's.
The Little Book of Syphilis.
Highway Code?
Oh, no.
The Highwayman Code.
The Highwayman Code. BG. It was a book of etiquette for school children, in fact, written by the great Dutch humanist Erasmus. Erasmus, it says on my card here, and I'm rather pleased to know this, he was a Dutch humanist and theologian, it says here, who was immensely influential in the Reformation and is the second most famous alumnus of Queen's College, Cambridge, after you. Yes! Well, isn't that exciting? But... A, that's not true. They're just trying to be sweet, and I don't have a portrait up.
So what, this book was designed to teach children how to behave?
Yes. Would you like to hear some of its pearls of wisdom?
Love to, yeah.
Do not be afraid of vomiting. It is not vomiting, but holding the vomit in your throat that is foul.
No, what's foul is when you try and stop it.
And it seeps through the fingers.
No, it flies off like that.
That's horrid.
If you're on a tube or something and you're waiting to get to the station, and you just can't wait and you think, oh, better to hold it in, and suddenly the pressure, it sprays. It sprays over everybody around you. Did he not put that in his book?
He didn't. You should not offer your handkerchief to anyone unless it has been freshly washed. Nor is it seemly, after wiping your nose, to spread out your handkerchief and peer into it as if pearls and rubies might have fallen out of your head. Very good. Do not move back and forth on your chair. Doing so gives the impression of constantly breaking or trying to break wind. It does rather. Not as much as doing that does, though. Yeah, sideways. Oh, thank you. There we are, not both. All pretend you
I did that in an exam once.
Yeah.
Farted, and someone thought I was cheating. So I was off. I said I wasn't looking, I was going,
How can you win money from a casino?
Magnets.
Counting cards.
Prostitution.
Card counting, that's right.
And they can spot that you're doing it. They have people that watch and know that you're doing it.
They do know.
And it was a chap who wrote a book, Ben something, no.
Nevis.
Awfully good. I interviewed the dude.
You interviewed him?
He's a maths teacher at a college and he gets some students.
Was it MIT students, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they went as an experiment, kind of. And he's been banned from casinos.
It's not against the law, and you're not cheating. Actually, all you're doing is playing the game extremely well. Now what happens is that they have this amazing face recognition technology that all the casinos in the world buy into. If you went into a casino in Phoenix, say, and did some card counting, and they said, excuse me, sir, can you leave? They can't really take your winnings away from you. They just make you leave, unless they're criminals. They'll try and beat you up if they really dislike you. And you were to go into one in Macau, flew over the next day, they'd spot you as you came in. Their computers would pick you up. The face recognition say he's a card counter, because they would have been...
they haven't got enough advantages.
I know, but that's the thing. They're just there to make money.
And how do they spot that you're card counting unless you sit there and go, a 7, 5, a jack, bust. And if you did do that, I want you to go, excuse me, sir, could you... I got a picture one!
That's maybe the way you disguise it.
Well, of course, what they do is they do it in teams, and they have very clever ways.
You're doing that. The guy at the other end's counting the cards. The perfect...
Yeah. Well, you're right. That was the system that Ben Campbell, the guy you interviewed. Ben Campbell, remember him?
Yes.
Yes, that's it. That was his system. But oddly enough, they've tried to do it with roulette. How would you do it with roulette?
Count the spins.
You stop it.
Count the ball.
Stop it, stop time. And then you only can move. Everyone else is frozen in time. And then you get the ball and put it exactly where you want. And then go, everyone back in the room.
Why not just to help yourself to all the money in the place while you've stopped time?
Because
When you eventually, you'd have to stop time and bring them back in, and they'd know. They go, something's missing. If you won, they'd go, wow, you've done it again.
I know how you win.
And I'll feel my pants on for exchange.
I know how you win.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? You'd take all the money and you'd fiddle with people.
So not.
You would!
What you've got to watch out is you've just got to watch. You don't play one of the tables where the croupier, once he spins it, goes like this with his hand.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. They just go, place your bets, and then he goes.
It seems that the only honest way to win money from a casino is by playing blackjack extremely well and counting. But if you do that, how upset are the Germans about the 1966 World Cup?
Well, very, I would say. Well, they would be, for surely, I would have thought, a proud nation like the Germans.
They were upset at the time, but I said, how upset are they? They barely remember it. If you asked every German who won the World Cup in 1966...
Yeah, they're pretending.
No, because the fact is...
World Cup? No, I don't
No,
know.
because we care about it, they don't. They care about their scores against Holland. That's their big thing. They really, honestly, if you ask the average German, they're just... 66. They really don't know. Oh, did you? Well done. You know.
International.
For us, it was like everything. Wow, we won. But they, in 1974, beat the Dutch, and that to them was the one they really, really care about.
But surely, the Dutch have never provided a great deal of opposition to them. Generally, in history, they've just walked into Holland whenever they fancied it.
Oh, in that sense.
Any time they want, they just go into Holland, which is just like spin the windmill. I haven't mentioned it yet. I was talking about the great Geschmertzslip in 1762, where they just walked into Holland, but they can just enter. Oh, I'll mention the War of Holland. You have to. Surely they're denying their true rivalry, which will be with us.
Why?
They're in denial.
We may think that, but it's up to them to decide. I mean, you can't force a German to care about whether they beat us or not.
Well, they bloody well should.
Yes. I'm sure you're very upset by it, but I mean, they just don't care that much. And there are other things like the sun lounge hogging with the towel.
Yeah.
Is that something you've actually experienced?
Yeah.
There's some picture of it.
These are some of Alan's holiday photos.
It turns out that a German lawyer called Ralph Hooker actually did a study, and he confirms that we think it. But Germans are blissfully unaware of their reputation in this case.
No,
but
really?
a study by Halifax...
I think they don't care, is the right description of it.
They just don't... They don't know that's what we think of them.
They
but
think
Halifax
it's
Travel
just common sense
Yeah.
to go down before breakfast, basically at dawn.
It turns
take
out
all the beds around the pool.
that Halifax Travel Insurance in 2009 confirmed with the study that Germans are the most likely to reserve sun lounges with towels. And which nation do you think is the second most likely to?
The Dutch.
The British.
The British.
Yeah, very close.
Who turn up
In
10
fact.
minutes later. Go,
Exactly. While the French and Italians and Portuguese are having breakfast and not really
Well, and
caring.
also they're in their own countries.
Yeah, well, that's... that's true.
Enjoying the lovely food and weather.
That is highly true. You might need a stiff drink after all those disgusting animals. What's the key ingredient, then, in the world's nastiest cocktail?
Malibu. I reckon you've got someone, a really good, quick type, who just goes...
We're after a nasty cocktail.
Is it a genuine drink?
It's a genuine cocktail that is served in a genuine bar in a genuine place in a genuine country.
There's one place.
There's one place, and it's
Give us a
probably...
clue.
It's a part of the body. We're in a country that is sort of known for its cleanliness, probably, more than anything else, and for its...
Switzerland.
Canada, which they say of Toronto, it's New York run by the Swiss, so it's that kind of a place. But this is in the Yukon, in a mining bar, the Downtown Hotel, Dawson City. It's a part of a human being.
An eye?
Toenails.
Well, toenails is good enough. It's a toe.
A toe.
Toe. Yeah. The sour toe cocktail is the spécialité de la maison in the Downtown Hotel.
Where did they get the toe?
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole story there. Yeah. It started in the 1960s when a figure called Captain Dick Stevenson he'd been all kinds of things, from a male stripper to a miner to a lumberjack, all the, you know, the way that manly men are.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he found himself in an old cabin, and there was a pickled toe that had belonged to a rum runner back in the Prohibition days. And for some reason, he thought it would be amusing to offer as a challenge to put it in alcohol, and the idea was you drank it. And it became a very popular drink. You kept the toe, though. It moved from glass to glass. But the important thing was, there's a little rhyme, which is the key, is you can drink it fast, you can drink it slow, but the lips have got to touch the toe. So the toe has to touch. But unfortunately, there was a series of accidents. In 1980, Gary Younger, a local miner, accidentally swallowed the toe. So they found another one, this very nice lady called Mrs. Lawrence of Alberta, whose middle toe was amputated due to an inoperable corn, donated it. So you were then drinking a toe that not only was amputated, but had a hideous corn on it. And people... That lasted well. It didn't have to be alcohol.
I've drunk worse than that. I remember being at a party once, no glasses, drinking Tia Maria out of a dog bowl. Wow. So, no glasses. That's chicken, it's fine.
So, yeah, they've gone through a lot of toes now. In fact, they have a collection. People know about this bar, so they donate their toes if they're going to be amputated. So they have some packed in rock salt in the back. You can choose your toe to have with
He
it.
looks like he finds it hilarious. I can imagine going, hee, you're gonna have to drink the toe! That's brilliant, you're gonna drink the toe! I love that!
It's only $5 a shot. They reckon 35,000 people have done it.
Yeah.
It's quite popular.
I mean, you're likely to pass on germs, though, aren't you? All those people touching the same toe seems very unsavoury.
Is a toe supposed to retain any flavour? Is it has it been pickled in a way that makes the drink more interesting, or is it just for the...
It's just so you can say you've done it these days, isn't it? It's pretty... But it's leather now, I would imagine, isn't it? Well, leather and a hint of nail varnish. Anyway, there we are. Yeah, that's the Downtown Hotel in Dawson City in the Yukon, and it offers its patrons the Sour Toe cocktail, the liquor of your choice, garnished with a service. One of the biggest problems faced by explorers, as you can probably imagine, is that of language. Alan and Bill, I would like you two to imagine that you are two of the Pilgrim Fathers who've arrived on the Mayflower in the coast of the United States or America.
Right.
And I would like Rich and Sean to imagine you are Native Americans who meet them. How, you can use sign language if you like, would you communicate?
I would immediately read from the Book of Common Prayer. Hail, savage.
Hi, how are you?
What's that, Toby jug?
Yes.
Where's the pub?
Foaming pint of beer.
Humate, hapatimite, etimite, never mind the buzzcocks. Jonathan Creek. I can't believe my eyes.
Not just never mind the buzzcocks, other things as well. In stand-up. Piano. Playing in hotels.
You think you're the first explorers here, don't you? Where do you think these eyeglasses came from?
The extraordinary thing is, between them, Rich and Bill are absolutely right. The first thing said by one of the Native Americans who met the Plymouth Brethren was, could I have some beer? In English. He asked for beer in English.
Oh, the Indian did?
Yes. He spoke fluent English. He'd crossed the Atlantic 6 times. This was in 1620. America had been visited by others. The Pilgrim Fathers were not the first people to land in America by any means.
It's a trick question, wasn't it?
Yeah, his name was Squanto, the best known of them.
Yes.
But this particular one was called Samoset, and he spoke very good English.
Somerset.
What did he say then? Get off my land! Have you got some
topside, eh?
You bloody pilgrim farmers, get on my ladder!
He learned his English from fishermen and from his friend
the
Squanto.
archers.
And from the archers, probably, as well.
Sure. Are you buzzcocks? That's what he said.
But instead of getting beer, he got cheese and a bit of duck. And they both helped the Pilgrim Fathers survive their first year because they had nothing to eat when they arrived. And all there was Maine lobster, which is now a delicacy, but they thought was hideous.
But they were in terrible strife, weren't they? And they were about to starve. And then they said, well, actually, you can... here's some turkey.
Yes.
And the full...
And some cranberries.
And then they killed them all. With guns.
Unfortunately, yes. There was 50 years of peace, though. In fact, Squanto brokered a peace that lasted for 50 years. They lived together very happily. He was an interesting fellow, Squanto. He was kidnapped from his village by a British captain around 1605, which was 15 years before the Mayflower sailed. And he lived in England for 9 years. And then he returned home on another British ship. Then another British captain kidnapped him and tried to sell him into slavery in Spain. He was rescued by some Spanish friars, escaped back to London, took ship again, this time to Newfoundland, found it was too far to walk home, so he sailed all the way back to England. The following year, he signed up for an exploratory expedition to New England and crossed the ocean again. By the time he had crossed the Atlantic 6 times, he was fluent. Now, look at this picture. What does a rainbow look like from the other side?
You can't see it.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
Just slightly different. It's nice. But it's not
quite the same.
It's a bit...
Sort of look at it, you go...
You'd rather be on the proper side, but it's all right. I wouldn't bother going round to look at it. No. Just go, no, it's better this side.
It's a long journey.
You can't really concentrate on it because there are people going, come around, look at it from this side.
But your first answer was correct, for which you will get some
points. You can only
points.
see it from
the side that you're on.
Otherwise, you wouldn't know it's there.
No, there is a very particular way you can
It's to do with where the rain is and where you are.
Or where the sun is.
Where the sun is and the rain and where you are.
There has to be sun, and the sun has to be behind you.
Yeah.
Because they're light coming from behind your head, and they're going through a raindrop, they're bouncing off the back of a raindrop, and coming back to your eye. And it can only happen at an angle of 42 degrees, which is why it's in a bow.
Can you tell me at what point in time human beings were actually able to sing a rainbow?
Is there a song about singing
a rainbow? Sing a rainbow.
There's loads of different ones, wasn't there? Grey and grey and grey and grey, grey and grey and grey. I can sing a woodlouse, you know.
Very good, very good. In Estonia, they believe that if you point at a rainbow, your finger will fall off.
Oh, for God's sake.
I know.
Estonians aren't stupid people, are they?
They aren't.
They're very stumpy, though.
Yeah.
Indigo, incidentally. What do you know about indigo?
Blue, isn't it?
Purple. It's purple.
It's a funny colour. Do you remember...
It's the colour of...
Silence.
No.
Can you sing that song instead?
No, I can't.
It's the colour of audacity. See, I'm doing it now. I'm talking like that. It's the colour of audacity.
It's a sort of darky blue, isn't it?
No, isn't it a fertility thing?
Well, it's an Indian plant that was used for dyeing.
In what sense would it be a fertility thing?
It's a colour, doesn't it? Doesn't it come up on women's legs in circles when they're ready?
That may be impetigo. Are we thinking of impetigo?
Garters, what you're saying.
They're red. Well, indigo is indigo. It's a dark blue dye used for such things as jeans and police uniforms. What did Captain Scott take to the Antarctic to keep his lads entertained?
A first edition of Razzle.
Yeah, because he was going to take strippers, but out there, so many clothes.
Yes.
He just sat there going, oh, come on.
It was for musical entertainment.
A gramophone.
There was a gramophone on the second one, but more extraordinarily...
Triangle.
No, much more extraordinarily.
A piano.
Not just a piano.
Hammond organ.
A player piano, a pianola. Oh. A pianola, you know, the kind that plays itself like so with a piano roll.
God, I bet they were delighted.
I mean, they took
we used to have one of those, and you do it with your feet.
That's right, you power it with your pedals, and the punched paper goes through, and it plays itself like that.
I suppose they figured that out there it's so cold,
you wouldn't want to be playing the piano, would you, with your
Well, oddly
fingers
enough,
out?
on one of his
And if you did have your gloves on, it'd be a right racket.
On one of his first expeditions, he took a real piano, only to discover that nobody on board could play. So when he went on the second one, this company were very pleased to furnish him with the pianola, being an exciting piece of modern technology, and 20 rolls. And on the final expedition, the one in which they all perished, another company got in and gave him another pianola with 250 rolls, each one being a different piece of music, of course. And he actually took it off the ship. It took real effort to get it on land to the first base camp, just so they could have music.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't drag it to the pole with them?
They didn't take it all the way to the pole. No.
That would be odd.
That would have been a bit silly.
Leave it there.
Yes.
You get there as loads of others. Amundsen's taken a whole band.
It was very interesting to put a kind of sad note to the story, was that, of course, Scott got there and he went on the known route, which was tough, going up the glaciers and so forth. But Amundsen, of course, went a different route and found it was easy, and he was lucky. So he got there days before Scott did.
And when Scott got there, of course, he discovered the Norwegian flag.
And when Scott got there, he saw the Norwegian flag. And then Scott, coming back, was depressed and so forth, and they all died gradually, one by one, etc. But Amundsen got back to Norway, and he was in the bath. And his wife came into the bathroom and said, "Scott has died," on the way back from the South Pole. And Amundsen said, "He's beaten me." Oh, really? Yes, because he meant by dying, it was Scott of the Antarctic and not Amundsen of the Antarctic.
He just became a hero.
Well, he became a hero.
What he should have said was, "Can I have his piano?"
Well, the one on the left of the photograph is the famous Oates, who, if you remember, was the one who sacrificed his life, who left the tent, said, "Oh, maybe some time." Yeah, and there's Scott in the middle. Do you remember the rather moving, the last words he wrote in his diary, which when they discovered...
We took risks, we knew we were taking them, and things have come out against us. Therefore, we have no reason to complain.
He ended with the words, "For God's sake, look after our people."
Yes.
Why did the Victorians legislate against male homosexuality, but not against lesbian... Oh, thank you, and we can... Moving on. Why, oh, dear. Why didn't they legislate against lesbianism in the same thing? Yes.
Because I, Queen Victoria, simply didn't believe that women got up to such scurrilous activities.
You're really going right for them, aren't you?
Get that one.
Happy Christmas to me.
You know, the fact is there's no truth in that odd rumour that Queen Victoria had them cut out any reference to lesbianism because she thought it didn't exist. Even if she'd questioned the law, she would have sparked virtually a revolution. That she had no power whatsoever to have any influence on any legislation. It would have been completely unthinkable. Do you know the name of the law? It was in 1885. It was called the Labouchere Amendment. The first famous case of anybody being sentenced under the Labouchere Amendment was Oscar Wilde, who got 2 years hard labour. And in fact, the judge said that you have been the centre of a circle of corruption of young men is impossible to doubt. This is the worst case I have ever tried. It is my duty to sentence you to 2 years at hard labour, the maximum the law allows. In my opinion, nothing like enough. And a week earlier, he said this is the worst case I'd ever tried. A week earlier, he'd tried a case of child murder. Right, that's the kind of attitude they had then.
Would you say he was a closet?
He may have been. But it was an extraordinary thing, though. Of course, the Wilde case obviously precipitated an immense change in British cultural life in many ways. Soldiers, like your good self, used to walk arm in arm in Hyde Park. They had done for 100 years. Men would walk arm in arm or arms linked, as they do in the continent still. And as soon as the Wilde case came up, everyone, just men stood exactly, never touching each other, and it was a whole different way of behaving like that.
That's because that bloke used to nick my medals. If I used to have hundreds of medals. Somebody got the one.
So it was all...
Got that one?
Yeah.
And that was from a Quality Street tin.
Legislation against lesbianism seems never to have been considered. Certainly Victoria would have had no power to block it, had it been. Now, what was the most dangerous military stratagem ever devised?
Vehicle reversing.
Was it Hannibal's first crack at the Alps with chihuahuas?
The purpose of this one was to terrify the enemy. Imagine you're in the front line of an army and you're massing against the front line of another army, and the front line of the opposing army does something so extraordinary that you think, oh, my God, we're never going to beat them.
Is it from a Carry On film? Is it when they lifted their, kilts and they didn't wear pants? It was amazing.
Carry On Braveheart. No, it's neither of those.
They flagellate themselves. They insert something within them.
They chop their own heads off.
They chop their own heads off.
The front line of the army chops their heads off. How you do that? Grab your hair and just slice with a very sharp sword.
Who was that then? The Scots Guards?
This was in 496 BC.
It would be the Swiss army, because they'd have something on one of those little knives.
No,
to do that, wouldn't they?
Self-decapitation. It's a country you know well, and you're wearing its flag at the moment.
This is the flag of Vietnam.
Well, that's right. We're talking 496 BC, the army of King Gujian of Yue. And he had convicted criminals in the front line and told them they had to cut their own heads off. You may say, well, why would they do that?
What's the worst that could happen?
The worst that could happen is if they didn't, then all their families and all their children would be massacred as well.
F*** it.
They didn't seem to worry. They knew they were going to die anyway. They were condemned to death. What do we know about decapitation? Does it kill you straight away?
I know if you cut a duck's legs off, it can still swim.
It can float, but it can't swim.
Floating
I'll leave a little bit of stumpage.
No. It wouldn't be it would have to catch the currents. It would evolve into a whole different animal. It would probably get a wing up as a sail or something like that.
Didn't they discover, like, for example, at the French Revolution with the guillotine, that, like, heads could kind of, like, chat a
Carry
bit
on
after,
chatting.
So...
Well, no, you're right. There was a story during the terror of the French Revolution that two members of the National Assembly were guillotined and their heads put in the same bag straight away, and one bit the other so hard they couldn't be separated. What, just the heads?
That's holding a grudge, isn't it? For all intents and purposes, you're dead. Let it go. Yeah, you didn't get on. Whatever.
Now, here's one of the oddest things about Iceland is, well, I'll show you. Have a look at this. These are Icelandic. What do you reckon they are?
Legs.
Yes. If I were to tell you that those are empty, does that help?
Hollow leg.
Yeah.
Oh, they're Icelandic cock pants. Is it because, like, when you go out on the beach, everything shrinks? So you basically just put them on, and then it gives you a little bit of...
Just, yeah,
profile.
Bit
Are
extra.
they a pair of trousers, a pair of ski pants?
They are a pair of
Human
trousers made of human skin.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh. They are on display at the Icelandic Museum of Witchcraft, which is an extraordinary place because Icelandic witchcraft is pretty odd. And what happens is you ask a friend, right, that when he dies, can you have his skin?
Can I have your legs?
And if he gives you permission, you then flay the skin below the waist, all of it completely in one piece, right? And you wear them as sort of tights, right? It gets weirder. You then have to steal from a widow a coin. And you put the coin inside the scrotal area, the sac there, which you see the whole thing is more or less complete.
If it's a blow.
With a written incantation. And then...
You open a bank.
And that's how the Icelandic economy works. Yes. Well, then apparently, well, they sort of do, because then the scrotum apparently fills with money. So that's the incantation. They're sort of necropants. There is an official word for them.
Necropants.
Yeah, dead pants, yeah.
That's the sort of thing you see advertised at 3 o'clock in the morning. Eurosport. Do you want necropants?
The Icelandic name is Nabrok. Now, I've got a little task for you to do, a little Christmas party game. I've got these phone books here, and what's happened is they've been interleaved. That's all it is. There's no glue or anything. They've literally, like a pack of cards, one page inside another. So it's two...
It must have taken ages.
So it did. Our props people are very proud of their work. There you are.
We'll share.
All I want you to do, you've got ropes there, is just pull them apart. So you can take one each.
Can't be done.
Go on, pull them apart.
It can't be done.
Go on. There you go. Try. You can't,
It
can
can't
you?
be done.
You
Go on,
literally can't. It's quite extraordinary. Strong as Brian is.
Go on, try and pull, Brian, pull.
All it is...
Sean's alive!
How come your water wasn't spilt? That's magical.
Yes, it's an old trick. Me and Brian have been doing this trick for years.
But that is, I think, proof
I'm trying to
positive.
sit on top of me tipped-up chair.
A man as strong as Brian, he may be able to pull Sean off his chair, but it can't be done. In fact, you need 8,000 pounds of force in order to do it.
Really?
It really is quite bizarre. It's friction. And it's just replicated each time. I know, it is. It's so hard.
This
If
time
you
it's-
loosen them.
This time it's me.
This time it's personal. Having a tantrum.
Still can't do it.
What did the Nazis use trumpets of Jericho for?
Was it lift music?
It wasn't.
Did they come up with some foul weapon that was to bring down the walls of cities and towns and things? Yes,
No, dear. I'm afraid...
I kind of thought that was going to happen, but...
Joshua in the Bible, of course, brought down supposedly the walls of the city of Jericho using trumpet, though apparently archaeologists say Jericho had no walls, but never mind. So it's a pretty easy job. Who knows? No, this is the Ju-87. Does that help?
Junkers.
Junkers, absolutely, known as
Aircraft.
particular
That
kind.
88.
There it is.
Stuka.
The Stuka.
Yes, the siren, the whistling siren when they dive in.
The whistling sound. That's right, they had a...
I used to go back as a kid. No, but then the Stukas start coming.
Yeah, do you want to hear them? It's that noise. That noise was a propeller driving a siren, just deliberately put on to scare the bejesus.
Screaming siren.
That's right. They called it the Trumpet of Jericho, yeah. And it destroyed more shipping and tanks than any other aircraft in the whole World War II, including kamikaze pilots. It was extremely successful, except when it was up against fighters and sent them over to the Battle of Britain to try and bomb airstrips. But the old Hurricanes and Spits were far too nimble, and they got 30 done in one day, I think. Well, the Americans did the same by using Wagner in their helicopters. Do they still?
They still play loud, extremely loud rock music. To
I've
terrify
noticed
the
that in their bedrooms.
Well, they play it to themselves in the tank during the Iraq War.
I mean, you just want to go and say, I tell you what, lovely army, very nice vehicles and things. Do you have any grown-ups anywhere? People who get calm and don't shout and don't think it's clever to wear sunglasses if you're a general.
Of all the objections to warfare, it's the use of sunglasses.
They're trying to be like pattern. They think it's sexy and cool.
Well,
if you
it's
think
from films,
they're sexy
isn't
and cool, you're just going to
What
be a
about
ghastly
that general
tactician.
who said to the troops he got it all wrong? He's like he was trying to get in with the kids. And he said when the order's given to attack, it's hammer time. And they all looked at him. So he said it again, more serious. It's hammer time.
Well, you thought they'd put on, like, big balloony trousers and go...
There were 7 Roman emperors who bore the name Caesar, not counting Julius, who started the whole thing, but of course wasn't himself an emperor. We all know what he did. He came, he saw, he conquered. But what did Nero do? Oh, did you say that? Oh, Joe, he didn't fiddle while Rome burned, no.
He had a concrete swimming hat.
He was very, very... very productive, wasn't he, Nero? He built most of Rome, not the Rome you see.
Well, he rebuilt it after it was burned down, indeed.
Did he have an enormous gold statue of himself built? Incredibly vain and stupid. And
Vain
people
is the
didn't like
word.
him.
His dying words were, "What an artist dies in me," and he played.
Was there
he did-
someone in him? At
And
the
of course. Small Fauviste painter has just perished inside my being. Well, anyway, no. Of course, the fiddle didn't exist in Roman days. The fiddle was invented in the 15th century, I think, something like that. So he would have played Kithara or something, a sort of lyre-like thing.
But was he doing it like a sort of fire engine alarm, like...
Well, there's some evidence he did try and put the fire out, actually. He blamed a small sect of people for the fire. It was a very useful scapegoat.
The gays?
No. Even smaller, slightly less well-dressed, and oddly enough, to this day, enemies of the gays.
It wasn't the Chavies.
No, even worse than the... It was
Coptics?
Those damned Christians, yes. Nero, played by Christopher Biggins, of course, in TV's popular I Clavdivs.
I Chapdivs.
Yeah. Some people think he may have even been playing bagpipes when he was watching...
Christopher Biggins? No, he is actually that side. Bagpipes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, can't be having it.
Mm. They have this tuning, and it's odd that Scots do that when they talk. I'm not sure. Very odd, though. So anyway, there we are. There's old Nero. Whatever it was, he was eventually booed off, of course, and succeeded by a more popular entertainer who was called Galbus, Servius Galbus Caesar Augustus, to be precise. And he got rid of bagpipe performances and he replaced them with tightrope walking elephants. So tell me, what good did the Great Fire of London do?
Pretender. I'm risking it here, but I don't care. Wiped out the plague.
Oh, dear It was taught in school, so you've got every reason to think it, but it's just simply not true. There's no evidence whatsoever. Apart from anything else, the plague was already over.
Well, yeah, but it wiped out the conditions in which it could have come back.
Not really, because the plague was mostly in the suburbs, not in the city. The city was not the place that was most affected by the plague, but it was the place that was destroyed by the fire. By the time September 1666 happened, which was the fire, there were very few deaths. It had gone down to... It had almost ended. No one quite knows why it ended, but it certainly wasn't the fire.
Did it make it easier for them to knock down a load of places that they had their eye on?
Essentially, that's the point. It gave the chance to Christopher Wren to get some church building done, especially St Paul's, of course.
They had lots of grandiose plans about turning London into a grid or a spiral or that, and then they kind of thought about it for ages and then went, put it back as it was.
Yes.
You know, all squiggly lines and weird corners, please.
Yeah, which we have. It is one of the
Well, yeah, but I think Christopher Wren was a bit depressed about it.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about the Great Fire of London was that it got Wren an opportunity to... Jimmy, how many burglaries are committed in the UK by koalas every day?
Every day?
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing it's quite a low figure. Now, are we talking breaking and entering or planning to deprive of property on a continual basis because they're different charges?
The thing about koalas is they are the most law-abiding of all the bears.
Of course, they're not bears.
Yes, Alan.
They're not bears.
Thanks, Louis.
They've got a very long intestine. They sleep for 22 hours a day.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, all the indigenous mammals in Australasia are marsupials.
Are therefore not mammals.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Didn't you know that? They're cats. They're cats, all of them.
I think they're big.
Try to say something clever. Sorry, back to the knob gags.
Well, no, fair point. The things that are almost like furry, but aren't.
Well, if I said almost like furry, I would have sounded like Alan. There'd be no point to that. I was trying to be all clever.
Sorry, that koala, it looks like he's waiting for the fire brigade.
Look at his paws, though.
I was going to say, what's your favourite bit of the koala?
The paws are gorgeous.
Do you like the little hand?
I like the cock.
Oh, stop.
I told you.
Fluffy ears, or the little hard-nosy bit?
I want you, though, to concentrate on the paws.
I like the lips toasted.
Concentrate. Yes,
I've
Jimmy.
got it. Fingerprints, because koala fingerprints are indistinguishable from human fingerprints.
Fingerprints is right, Jimmy. Well, let's have a look. Let's see some human prints, some koala prints, and maybe some chimpanzee prints. Which is which, would you say?
Human print is on the left. No, it's not. It's in the middle.
So what's that? Human in the middle?
Yes.
Right, and chimpanzee and...
Oh, chimpanzee is on the right, and
Yeah.
that one over there, that's a koala. Unmistakable.
Oh, I wonder if you're right. No, it's a human on the left and a koala in the middle and a chimpanzee on the right. And even under a scanning electron microscope, it's incredibly hard to see any difference between a koala print and a human print. And the chimpanzee is very closely
That's
related.
extraordinary because the koala evolved in isolation in Australasia.
It's called convergent evolution, where things that are evolving completely separately come up with similar solutions.
Or they were all made by God.
Or they were all made by God. So anyway, koalas have fingerprints that are almost identical to human beings, and this was discovered by a Polish man called Henneberg, who is an anthropologist and paleopathologist, but also a dermatoglyphic expert. And the word dermatoglyphics means the study of fingerprints.
Yeah, of course it does.
And I'll give you 10 points if you can tell me what's unusual about this word. It shares a particular property with only one other word in the English language.
Does it have all the letters of the word dermatoglyphic in it?
Actually, the only other word that shares this property is the word uncopyrightable.
Is it the vowels in the right order?
No, they're the longest words in the English language, 15
Without
letters,
E in it?
with no repetition of a letter, which all the letters are different.
That's
Simple as that.
fantastic.
What's bound to happen eventually when you get into an argument on the internet?
Imagine you'd go away at some point and have a word with yourself and go, why am I wasting my
Yes,
life? There's plenty of people I can have an argument with outside.
It's one of the most dispiriting views of the world, isn't it? An internet message board, when you see what some people will write and how worked up they'll get about this one. Well, you... It just shows that you're a... and all the other have been with their own for the last... Why don't you...
Sounds like they've got a problem with their keyboard. They've got... angry.
Well, there's a thing called Godwin's Rule. Do you know this?
No.
It's called Godwin's Rule of Nazi Analogies. It basically says that as an online discussion grows longer, the probability of a comparison involving Nazis or Hitler approaches 1.
Yes.
And it actually happened. Eventually someone will say, that's what Hitler did, or that's what the Nazis did, or that argument... Do you see what I mean? That's how, and there is a sort of unwritten rule that the moment that happens, that thread is over, that ends it. And that the person who uses that pathetic analogy is deemed to have lost the argument.
Imagine if you're having an internet discussion about the founding of the Nazi
Party. That obviously would be an exception.
You started off, they go, right, that's it, it's over. I'm just trying to get a nice discussion going.
No, I think that will be allowed.
And who's this Godwin, then?
Well, he's General Counsel for Wikimedia Foundation, but it's a very, very apt and intelligent observation that any argument deteriorates to that point, you might as well end it, because it's nearly always inappropriate, people will say. Hitler liked that, therefore it's bad. Or Hitler didn't like that, therefore it's good, you know. Hitler, for example, was massively opposed to fox hunting. He thought it was cruel and terrible, and so he banned it. So therefore it must be right, because Hitler, you know, that's just a mad argument. You know,
Oh, my God, look at his socks.
That's what Hitler...
Whoa!
And I've lost the argument.
But you see, he's brought in Hitler to prove that your socks are bad.
Yeah, but I feel in the broader picture, I've come off the worst out of this.
Reductio ad Hitlerum, it's called.
Are you saying he looks like a knobhead?
Well...
Yeah, so you're saying Hitler looks like a knobhead now?
He looks like he's turning around to someone saying, look, I'm ready, are you? You've been hours getting dressed, let's just go out. He doesn't look that.
Well, listen, say what you like about him. Great socks.
Yeah, true. How would you use a Monopoly set to escape from a prison camp?
I could see how you might use a buckaroo.
Just fly out over the fence.
I mean, you'd probably just keep ending up on the barbed wire. Again, try it with the bucket.
Is it the covering up the hole with it?
Well...
Like in Shawshank?
No, there was a man whose nickname was Clutty Hutton, who in Britain bought up lots of Monopoly boards and turned them into escape kits that he then set up through MI9 with these pretend charities.
So that you'd get a get out of jail free card.
That's a very good idea.
It was. No, what was brilliant
Planning
was
the secret
that hidden in the Monopoly board were incredibly useful things.
Like a small dog, tiny hat, and a little ship.
There would be real money interspersed with the Monopoly money. There would be maps on silk, because they obviously tried it on paper. It's too bulky and rustly, but on silk, on parachute silk, you get an enormous amount of detail and tiny. That's an example of his earlier work, putting a compass in a military tunic button. The Germans got wise to this. They'd unscrew them, eat the buttons, and they'd see it. So then they reversed the thread. So when the Germans unscrewed it, they in fact tightened the button. Then they got wise to that. So then he used razor blades, which were magnetized at one end, so that when they were attached to something metal, they would spin round with the G of Gillette would point north, which was very good. So they were well disguised.
They said, now look, we put the normal thread on.
Yeah.
Old Kraut, he's unscrewing it. Then what we've done is we've put it the other way. So when he's unscrewing it, he's actually tightening it.
That's right.
Now we've gone a step further. We've done one here. You can't get the top off.
Isn't there a flaw in that, sir?
Don't complicate it. Don't complicate it, Perkins. No one's going to see this bloody compass, that's for sure. Give it a try. You won't get it off.
Oh, very good, sir.
In many ways, it's become what I call a button.
If I was the German camp commandant, I'd have made them all wear duffel coats.
If it was me, if I was in charge, I would have started shipping out giant Jengas.
Would you?
Well, then you just build them up. You know the Jengas you get in pub gardens?
Yes.
Just massive one, just hop over the fence.
Brilliant. If only you'd been in charge then.
Or snakes and ladders, but with actual ladders.
Yes.
And real snakes would scare the Germans. Good British snakes who didn't like the look of a German soldier and would go up to them and go...
What about if they gave them toy tanks, but really big ones? And they could turn around and go, take this, Jerry.
In the Battle of the Bulge, who were the stomach division?
The Germans.
They were a German division, a German...
a regiment of darts players.
They were a division.
Like that, yeah.
Certainly a good
Jockey
description.
Wilson, Eric Bristow.
So we're clear on what the Battle of the Bulge was.
Battle of the Bulge is in Belgium, the Second World War.
Yes.
When the Allies were advancing and the Germans went for one big counter-offensive.
The last great counter-offensive.
And it was quite successful. It was so successful that they made a film about it.
It delayed the Americans. It was the largest
yeah.
infantry battle in American military history and the bloodiest.
Yes.
600,000 Americans were involved, which is more than the whole of the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yes.
Let's face it, had Americans on both sides.
Yeah.
And it was called the Bulge because...
Because the battle line was drawn out like that, and the bulge was the advancing
That's right, the German
army.
advance counterattack made a bulge in the line. We're talking about very late 1944, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the Stalin's Red Army is pushing through east through Poland and towards Germany. And there's so few men, there's so few German soldiers left after all this fighting,
Yes.
that they decide that they must use people who've got a sick note, but it's only for a very slight problem, like a little tummy bug. And so all the people who were off sick, who had stomach problems, were marshalled into a division of the 70th
all of them
infantry
felt a bit unwell.
of the Wehrmacht, called the Stomach Division.
They all had the
And they had to fight...
Well, yes, they, of course, displayed outstanding guts, you might say. But they were given their own latrines and their own special diet. And they...
and are given a wide berth by most of the other... So they were called the Stomach Division because they were ill.
Yeah.
And they were called up at the last minute.
They were called up. Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are various things like if you had a leg missing or very severe illnesses, you would be exempt. But they reckon
that a bit of windy pops.
The German
get out there.
Exactly. Durchfall.
Get stuck in, son.
Durchfall is the rather good
Colic.
German word for diarrhea, which just means literally
Durchfall.
throughfall.
Durchfall.
So you're right. It was the Wehrmacht 70th Infantry. They were known as the Stomach Division. Due to indisposition, they were unable to attend the Battle of Bulge itself.
Yes.
All 10,000 of them were mopped up by the Canadians. What's the most repeated TV show of all time?
Top Gear.
It is. You do get a lot
There's
of Top
not
Gear.
a time of day when it is not possible to watch Top Gear. It's true. It is on, and it's always a different one.
But this one is one programme.
One show that's the
One show is the most repeated show.
It's a German show.
It's a British comedian, two
Called
British comedians.
The Duchess.
Sorry?
It's called The Duchess or something like
No,
that.
I
Or
think you know what I'm referring to,
the,
yeah.
The Waiter or Lady Somebody. It's, it's a
He has to
British
have a drink.
comic being a waiter to a posh...
It's called Dinner for One.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's shown on every channel in Germany on December the 31st every year and has been since 1972.
Oh, and I know who's in it as well.
Yes.
Freddie Frinton.
Freddie Frinton, you're right, plays a butler who has to serve a Christmas dinner for his mistress, played by May Ward, who's rather mad and old, and pretend that there are other people there, and he pours out drinks for them and gets drunk himself. You can see a bit of it, here you are. You know, all right, it's broad humour, but it was...
Yeah, it's all very well in its own way, but what's going on with it every single channel, every single year?
It's become a cult. It's unavoidable in Germany. They have parties for it. It's just a tradition. It was a sketch done in 1920. They used to do it, you know, on the halls and all around the other places like that. And a German TV presenter saw it in 1963 and thought it was amusing and said, come and do it on German television. So they did it on German television once, then they did it again to record it. In 1972 they showed it, and they've showed it ever since. And it's become so popular. I think, to give the Germans their credit, they laugh as much ironically at it as we would if we saw it. It's just one of those things that happens to have become an extraordinary tradition.
I'm quite glad we've got the Great Escape over here.
That's our tradition, if you might exactly
Not on every
argue.
channel.
Not on every channel, I agree. It is pretty extreme. It's almost impossible to avoid. Dinner for One with Freddie Frinton. What did Uncle Wiggly Wings ever do for Germany?
It sounds like a children's character, Uncle Wiggly Wings.
Well, he was someone who helped children. What are we looking at here? We're looking from a high point down on children who are looking...
Abandoned orphans calling for a helicopter to please airlift me out of here.
Airlift is a good word. Stick with the word airlift. What does airlift in Germany bring to mind?
Berlin.
The Berlin airlift.
The war.
No, it doesn't. It's not the war. The Cold War you can mention. Right.
When they blockaded
Berlin.
West Berlin.
Yes, the Russians completely closed off the city of Berlin, which was in their sector, the eastern sector, in 1948. And for over a year, Berlin was completely cut off from the rest of the world. And so they dropped food, millions of tons of food. The Americans, the British, so on, dropped it. And there was an American pilot who had 2 sticks of gum, and he gave it to some kids, and he said, if you'd share it amongst each other, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll give you more candy. And so when he flew over the last time, he wiggled his wings over them and dropped some chocolate. And he'd do this each day. More and more children came, and it took on and became a huge propaganda coup for every year. And it was called Operation Little Victuals. And children in America provided their own candy, and of course the candy corporations caught on. And huge tonnage of sweets.
It sounds lovely, but do you imagine a Terry's chocolate orange heading down at you at great speed?
But you see what that boy's holding out there? The little hanky-style
That's no
parachutes.
match for the Terry's chocolate orange.
Of course, the chocolate orange could have landed like the bouncing bomb that it did in the war.
Oh, no.
If a chocolate orange were to land like a bouncing bomb, that would be a good thing, because if you hit it, it would go boom. It would just open up nicely,
Oh,
wouldn't
it'd
it?
be gorgeous. 2,223,000 tons of supplies were dropped.
Not in the one go.
No, over...
Because that would have just buried them.
Over a year. That's the airlift itself. During the Berlin airlift, American pilot Gail Halvorson used handkerchief parachutes to drop sweets to the children in Berlin. He was known as Uncle Wiggly Wings.
What rhymes with orange?
Nothing.
Oh, Lordy bless.
Flange.
Orange. Can you think of any words that might rhyme with it?
Orange.
Orange would rhyme with it, yeah. I don't think there is such a thing as borange. There's borage.
No, borange.
Lost it.
That's what you suck up
Sir, Locke's making it up, sir.
They're terribly close, because there's Blorange.
Blorange?
It's a place. Anyone know where Blorange is?
Well, it sounds like it's in Belgium.
No, closer to home. Blorange.
Wales.
Wales it is. It is. It overlooks Abergavenny. It has a famous car park. Well, a horse is buried there, a famous horse called Fox Hunter. There's also Gorringe.
If you say porridge with a cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Porridge.
Have some porridge.
Lester Piggott goes, oh, we're for breakfast, Lester. Porridge.
I'm sure that Richard Whiteley on Countdown said that nothing rhymes with orange.
He may well have done, but we're here to explode the myths of the
Richard
Whiteleys.
Whiteley.
I saw him interviewing 2 Bluebell dancers once.
Really?
I thought he was going to have a coronary.
Could I have 2 from the top?
Very good. Here we are, Gorringe. It's a surname. It's probably the same root as Goering. My prep school tailors were called Gorringe, funnily enough.
Really?
We get our uniforms made, yeah.
You had a tailor? For, like, a suit you wear when you're 5?
There was...
Were you born in the 1850s? I shall measure up, young sir. With shorts and cap.
Particular outfitter. It was the school outfitter.
All right.
Which was a tailoring shop, an outfit, school outfit called Gorringe.
Which side does young sir dress on? There's nothing really to worry about.
You should know that. It's written on the toilet wall.
Oh, heavens, why did I mention that? That's
You want to get measured up for sure?
Lord, would sir like to wear a cravat on the cross-country run?
Oh, you're all such beasts. Well, anyway, Gorringe is a splendid English surname.
I suggest a common band for geography.
I say! You rather like this pink polenta.
Utter rotters. Gorringe is the splendid English surname of, amongst others, Henry Honeychurch Gorringe, who brought Cleopatra's Needle to New York Central Park, in case you didn't know. Now to some other handy hints for travellers. Fill in the blanks from these 19th century travel guides, all right? Firstly, never rub your eyes except with your...
Frog.
Frog.
Other eye?
Other eye. It's a handbook for travellers in Spain by Richard Ford in 1847.
Paella.
Elbows.
Elbows is the right answer. That's brilliant.
You can't.
Elbow. Yeah.
I suppose because you're not supposed to use your hands in case of something.
That's it. But it's quite hard to get your... You have to be quite limber. Well, reasonably. Yeah, elbows. That was a piece of travelling. OK, the next one. Keep a spare jewel for emergencies in your...
Dog.
Dog would work. This is from a book called The Art of Travel or Shifts and Contrivances Available in Wild Countries by Sir Francis Galton.
So this would be like, so you had some spare cash?
Yeah. It's, or a jewel, in fact, literally, to keep a spare jewel. Imagine you've been robbed. A highwayman or whatnot, it's in the 19th century, some sort of footpad.
In your shoe?
A shoe, they're probably looking a shoe and a hat.
You like a hat there in your cheek?
In your cheek,
In your fundament?
In your stomach?
Up your nose? Not in your stomach. The weird thing is it isn't an orifice.
Double chin.
Armpit.
Oh, no.
Under your eyelid?
No.
Your hair? No. Between your toes?
No. In your arm. Literally.
In your arm.
He recommends you make a cut prior to travelling. You push a jewel in and you sew it up and let it heal. And then when you are...
And a little bit of hash.
Maybe. Yeah. Beware the dirty habits of native cooks who will often be seen buttering toast with...
Earwax.
It's going to be something that isn't butter.
Yeah. The wings of birds, the wings of fowls, apparently. This is something you're warned against.
Using them to do the buttering?
Yeah, I think it's quite reasonable.
Do you mean actually what? So the
secreting a substance or greasy just
The
butter?
greasy wing, I guess they would roast a fowl, and greasy, or they'd use a live chicken and use it to butter bread with.
A live chicken? It's in the kitchen, they have a chicken whose only job...
In what way is Iceland's most recent volcano similar to Genghis Khan?
I think they're both shag nasties. Genghis Khan apparently has shagged everything that moves, and that he is the father and mother of all populations in Europe and Asia, so he shagged everything that moves. and the volcano, of course, has spurted out, had an orgasm of ammonia, and has fertilised Europe. Damn good answer.
I have to be brutally honest and say that's not what's on my card.
Oh, shit! But if there was no such thing as science, you'd be right. I think I know what it is.
Yes, go on.
I think, obviously, that volcano stopped lots of transport going on.
Yes.
He must have stopped something happening, which the volcano stopped happening.
You're in this right here. The odd thing is it's both very beneficial, especially at the moment. It's a thing we talk about a lot. Now, that volcano poured out, they reckon, between 150,000 and 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide. So there's a huge amount of carbon came out as a result of it. But, if you remember, no one flew for however long it was, and the lack of flying saved 3 million tons. So, in fact, it was a huge offset of carbon. And in the case of Genghis Khan, he slaughtered his way across the world and had the largest empire the world has ever seen. 4 times bigger than that of Alexander, twice the size of the Roman Empire. And he killed about 40 million people. And the result was there was so little farming that the forests grew back. And you can time a huge benefit to the world from his slaughter. But that's rather extraordinary, isn't it?
So what do we have to pronounce?
Now, yes, that's what I was... How did you know that I was going to ask that as a supplementary question?
I thought you already did.
Oh, did I already say it?
Oh, that or I read it off the
you read it off the audio? You great big cheater! I would now like you to pronounce the name of the volcano, and it's written up there for you.
God alive. You're prawn rings.
You should have been a newsreader.
With your accent, you've got the best chance.
It looks a bit like that, yeah? Any thoughts?
Ye Jaff Yally Jockroll. Yeah.
Brian, You may have set it off again by doing that.
Yeah. I think the umlaut changes it, doesn't it? Those two little dots.
The two dots.
Yeah. And I think, actually, the way you're supposed to pronounce it is... Hutch.
If only.
It changes it.
Apparently, it's Eyjafjallajökull Leokodl.
And is that translated big smoky bastard?
Yes.
You will go by ferry.
Basically the answer. Which animal did Richard I have 3 of on his shirt?
Now, can I suggest that at this point in history, no one in England had ever seen a lion? Is that possible? So, it's not a lion.
What did Richard I spend most of his time doing? I don't know. Crusading.
There weren't any lions in Arabia, were there?
There were lions all over Africa.
They're bloody everywhere they were.
So he saw a lion.
They had zoos. The town of London had a menagerie. It was a little later, I grant you.
You had a picnic in those days. Not wasps. Lions. Millions.
Get off the sandwich!
What? Point is...
Decent lions!
Swarms of the bastards. He looks like... You know what he looks like? He looks like he's going, "We'll get you in your suit of armour." Doesn't he? He looks like he's doing a sort of, ooh.
This is the badge of English royalty that was first used by Richard I. And it's 3...
Well, I'm saying not lions.
You're right to avoid the word lions. They were known as leopards. They called them leopards. They were not particularly familiar with the difference between a leopard and a lion. A leopard really just means a bearded lion, leopard. And it's a heraldic thing. If they were in that shape, sideways on, those were leopards.
You know,
So
that would
there was a song, wasn't there?
There was a song.
Wasn't there, Frank Skinner?
And that would have caused me a lot of scanning problems.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it? It was based, however, on a lie. 3 lions
Oh, it was
on my
based
shirt.
on a lion.
3 leopards on my shirt.
Were they rampant or couchant?
Good question.
It's got a good sign of the century.
Yes. They were actually passant gardant. But the rampant lion is the sign of the kings of Scotland.
Very hairy knees, the Scottish one.
Yes, they have. They would be called lions in heraldry, whereas the 3 lions on the shirt would, in fact, be... Why was it easier to put your boots on in the dark between 1600 and 1800?
Well, people's eyes were better with the dark, weren't they? Because there wasn't as much electric light. They were, people virtually were like owls, weren't they? Big eyes. We were a lot shorter then, but had massive eyes.
It was easier to put your boots on in 1600 than it was in 1400, though. Why is that?
Zips.
Nope.
Was there a big drop in boot thieves around 1600?
They were luminous. They weren't luminous.
Were they both the same? So
They
it
were
didn't
both the
matter?
same. Well done, Joe Brown. That's exactly it. There were no lefts or rights for those 200 years. So it didn't matter which one you picked up, you could just put your boots on. Before that, you had lefts and rights in boots. And then after that, you had lefts and rights, as we do to this day.
Well, what prompted the sudden...
Well, it was heels, you see, because they couldn't really make heeled boots in a left and right shape. It was just too difficult. But that's the reason. So in the dark, you could just shove on whichever boot came first and know that it wouldn't matter.
Did it extend to the whole world, the whole
Of
life,
China?
left and right? There was no left and right in anything. They just abandoned the notion of left and
Although
right.
I don't, yes,
For 200 years. Where is it? Up there, I don't know. There.
Yeah, we have an expert who'd been telling us about this, who comes from a place called the Northampton Museum and Art Gallery, and Rebecca Shawcross is the shoe heritage officer. And she gave us all this information.
She's an officer of shoe heritage.
Shoe heritage officer.
Does she get to carry a gun?
I hope so. I would imagine. I'm sure she would.
Keswick Pencil Museum. That's pretty good.
Is it in Keswick?
Yeah, it's great.
2 B's and 2 H's and everything in between.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's places you can draw. Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah. In Reykjavik, there's a penis museum. There is. I'm not making it up.
Whose penises do they have in there?
I've not visited.
A blue whale? Perhaps a blue whale's penis.
Yeah.
One of the
It's different species, exactly. That's the point, yeah.
I wonder if Bjork's got anything to do with it.
She does the audio commentary as it's going round.
And then you see a penis, and then she goes...
Well,
Gift shop
yeah,
would be good, wouldn't
for 200 years... For 200 years, and for 200 years only, really, left boots were exactly the same as right boots. This is a marmot, a pot-bellied member of the squirrel family. It's about the size of a cat and squeaks loudly when anxious or alarmed.
Ritz. They're eating Ritz biscuits.
Yeah, they seem to be, don't they?
Oh, they
Given
need
the
each
right
other.
conditions, it's a dangerous, a deadly, merciless killer of humans. How? Clive.
Lead piping in the billiard room. Are these the ones that live in the Gobi Desert?
They Mongolian and Russian steppes.
I've seen loads of these, and I did a railway journey for the BBC, all enough. They scurry around. None of them killed any humans in front of me while they're doing that. But
And yet they're more responsible for death than any other animal.
Do they get
except
caught up in machinery somehow?
No, the Maxim or the marmot.
Is it to do with the Ritz crackers? They sort of spit on the Ritz crackers, put them all back into the packet.
Do you know, oddly, Andy, the spitting part is good. When they spit and cough, billions die. Well, millions.
are they carriers of TB like badgers or
Worse.
Plague.
Plague is the right answer.
They've got the plague.
They are the actual original animal source.
Not the
of...
rats.
No, they cough and spit onto the fleas,
Is
which
the
catch
reason-
the disease, which then goes to the rats, which then wiped out half the population of Europe in the 14th century.
The problem with them coughing is obviously the fact that they've got those dry crackers. Just give them a drink of water next to it, have the biscuit, little water, no coughing.
The
Do you know why it's called bubonic? Do you know that?
Those big round things come up under your... The buboes.
The buboes. But the bubo itself actually comes from the Greek bubon, which is groin.
Groin.
One of the areas where you get a big swelling when you get the bubonic plague.
How often? Yeah, sorry.
Do I get Not as often as I used to, I'm sorry.
Given that's all they've got to do is just paint that red cross on, they've not done a great job, have they?
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's well to the left, isn't it, there? That, you know, you'd have thought if all you've got to do all day is go around doing a red cross, you'd have more pride in your work.
You're not hanging around doing it, though, are you? There's plague in here. I'll just do a...
The really long stick they do.
You're just waiting for a marmot to come flying
Knock
out
on the door and say...
spit at you.
What was the lingua franca of ancient Rome?
Great balls of fire.
Dutch. I knew that's not going to come up.
Yeah, very good, yeah.
See, that's where you've got to think, Joe. You've got to think what they wouldn't put up.
Cheers, Sean. Latin.
Oh!
I did that deliberately.
Yeah, I know. At this point,
she's
it makes...
going for the record.
Yeah, it makes no difference.
Yeah, you might as well. It's like shooting the moon when you play hearts or one of those
Oh,
games.
it's such a brilliant game.
Isn't it?
What does lingua franca mean?
When people get together, it's a language that is commonly used as like everybody's second language, as it were.
Is it Greek?
Yes, it is Greek. It's the right answer. Greek is the language that people would use in Rome if they weren't. Why wouldn't a Russian family call their son power station or industrialization?
They're not names, are they?
Because they're not names.
No, they're not
They
names.
are. They are. They were. Whoop, yeah.
They are names.
I'm saying, why wouldn't they call their
Because
son?
they're girls' names.
Because they're girls' names is the right answer.
name.
Well done.
Well done. Power station is Elektrostantia, is a girl's name, and Industrializacja is also a girl's name. But if you had a boy, you could call him Combine, which is combine harvester. Or you could call him 23 Fevralia, which is the 23rd of February. But this is actually a tradition in the Russic area, if you like. In Ukraine, their names like Noibie Batko, don't kill me, father. Would you believe?
Is it like the I don't know, it's a Red Indian thing where you come out of the wigwam, the first thing you'd see.
Right.
So they'd come out and see a power station.
What my husband's Native American name is?
What?
Sits in front of telly farting.
Imagine if you said it quickly, it sounds quite nice.
Yeah.
It does.
You call him
Sits in
You said
telefarting.
it in a Russian accent.
Yeah, sits in front of telephone.
I like your sort of Camp German accent the best.
Oh, shut
And I'd
up.
like you to... Can you just do handy again for me?
What's my handy? Back home now. What kind of weather kills more people in Britain than any other?
Bad weather. Wind. It's wind.
Not wind. Oh, hello. Oh dear, you got a fault in the wind.
Oh, bugger.
Is it rockets? So they come down like weather.
They sort of...
Hail.
Heat wave.
Fog is the right answer, finally. Well done, fog. Because of road traffic accidents, I'm afraid. It's as simple
Do you want me
as
to
that.
explain fog to you, Ben? What happens is... Everybody's been asleep, right, for quite a long time. And all their breath gathers up. And they've left the little window open and it all goes out. And that collects in the valley all together. Right, and it gets blown around by the lorries that are driving up and down. You still with me?
Do you know the difference between fog and mist? There is an official difference.
Is it the height of it?
No, it's actually just the density.
Mist is watery,
Fog
isn't
is visibility of less than 1 kilometre, while mist is usually between 1 and 2.
Because in mist, you can be seen in a sort of Mac, whereas in fog, they can't see you at all. You're safe. No one can spot you. Step back in, you're gone.
It's interesting. That's how you think of fog, as a way of hiding yourself.
Yeah,
so you can go about your beastly business unobserved.
It's not a beast, I'm just putting stickers on things.
Oh, it's you!
Yeah, putting silly stickers on people's faces.
Oh.
Nothing pervy. Bit of chewing gum over Cameron Diaz's eye. Anything, just cheers me up.
How would you make your house the most famous house in Britain?
Oh, that's easy.
Yep.
You murder lots and lots of people, dismember them, and bury them in the garden.
You marry the Queen. You marry the Queen.
Yes.
And you say, you're not living there in those... No, love, you're not living in those palaces anymore.
You're living in 3 Ironside Crescent, Carlisle.
Yes.
Yeah. Those would work. Yep, those would work.
Some sort of spectacular suicide? I suppose, actually, the murdering people would work better, which I think is sad.
But this is a bet.
Balloons? Is it like in the film Up? You just tie loads of balloons and your house goes...
Oh, that would be sweet. That would work. This was a bet that took place in 1810 between Samuel Beazley and Theodore Hook. That Hook couldn't make any house he chose the most famous residence in London in 1 week. He had a week in which to do it, but in fact he sort of... I mean, he prepared over the week, but it all happened in one day.
This.
Yeah?
He started ordering goods, all kinds of different goods from all kinds
4,000 different tradesmen and services in all the commercial directories all over London. He started ordering chimney sweeps. So first thing in the morning, there were 12 chimney sweeps, all arriving like that. And then more and more and more and more and more arrived. I mean, it became absolutely gigantic. 12 coal carts, there were cake makers, doctors, apothecaries, surgeons, lawyers, priests for dead bodies, undergraduates, hat makers, haberdashers, bootmakers, fishmongers, butchers' boys. A dozen pianos arrived. And before long, the governor of the Bank of England had turned up to see what the fuss was about. It was in Berners Street, just off north of Oxford Street. And there it is.
That sign doesn't fit that bit of wall.
It doesn't really. And yet, I suppose if they put it the way it would, you'd have to read it in portrait rather than
needed to go back to the drawing board with that one.
I think you're right.
Got that all wrong.
Or just chill out about the whole thing.
I could have folded it round, mate.
Is it a bit like, so the equivalent is like going on the internet and ordering the lot?
Yes, exactly.
I love everything.
Exactly, basically. And the poor woman whose name was Mrs. Tottenham was just besieged. I mean, it wasn't his house.
He didn't live there.
No, he chose it. He just chose this house. That was the point of the bet. I can make that house, 54 Berners Street, the most famous house in London. Theodore Hook betted a man called Beazley that he could make 54 Berners Street the most famous house. What kind of creature has a terrible memory? Short memory.
My dad can't remember anything. I went round to see him the other day and he looked at me like that.
Doesn't everybody?
I went, hi, Dad. He went, oh.
My neighbour's dog doesn't remember when I kick it, because I do it. No, loads of times. It still comes up to me.
Oh.
I'll kick it really hard in the face.
Goldfish. A goldfish.
With my boot.
Oh, not goldfish. No, there is...
3-second memory.
Well, there is this fallacy that goldfish have a 3-second memory. It is a fallacy. They've done tests.
Oh, they have.
They have. A man from Plymouth University did wonderful
said to the goldfish what happened on EastEnders last night. And he remembered most of it.
2 things. 1, there isn't a Plymouth University. That's made up. And 2, they can't remember anything.
Yeah, it's a sweet shop with a copy of the Times in it, isn't it?
Dr. Phil G. of the University of Plymouth's psychological
Is he a
department.
rapper?
He does sound like Dr. Phil G. He trained them to press levers, and they could even tell time because he would have the lever work just for an hour in the day, and they would come and press at the right time to deliver food, and they knew exactly where it was, and they would come back to it.
How come they can't tell that the deep-sea diver is 3 times as big as the castle? Pretty damn smart.
Well, it seems they have pretty good memories, as a matter of fact. What's more, they're not gold. Put them back in the wild, they go to brown and other different colours.
It's actually not true, because I've got 2 in a pond. They've been there 5 years, they're still orange, so...
No, in the wildy, but if you're in captivity and for some reason...
Where's the wildy? I'd like to go there.
Technical term.
The Norfolk.
So what can't remember anything then? I bet a koala can't remember much. Wakes up... Oh.
I bet a pig on fire can't remember much.
I had a strange experience when I was in Australia recently, and I went to a day out to the zoo, and they give you a koala to hold, and you have a photograph taken of it. And koalas are very lazy animals. They don't exactly work out. You know what I mean? They haven't got firm buttocks or anything. And I had one in my hand, and it kind of just slipped. And before I knew it, I actually had a sort of koala's buttocks. It was actually slipped onto my finger. And it just sort of slid on, and there's... on the photograph, because they take a photograph of you, you're supposed to hold a koala, and the koala goes this, goes... The worst thing was, they wanted it back, and I said, well, can I hold it for a bit longer? And I was trying to get the finger out, and I said, can I take it away?
The list of charges is beginning to add up, isn't it? Can you tell me what they're saying here?
But they did actually... It's not going to turn out to be some myth that they never did smoke signals.
No, indeed, you might have expected it, but in fact it's quite genuine. It's considered probably the first language of North America was smoke signals and
what
hand
makes that
signals
different? I don't see the subtleties of it from just a bit of smoke.
All you need to have is a bit of smoke and then not smoke. Do you see what I mean? If you left it alone, you'd get a column of smoke. But what they do is do puffs of smoke by having animal skins, not blankets, oddly enough. I know one used to think it was blankets, I think. Yeah. But animal skins that you take away. And they can create immensely complicated, even V-shapes and things like that, using the blankets.
Is this the same thing they do at the Vatican with the Pope? Or is it just... not?
Is that a more
simple language?
Very simple, that, isn't it?
It's just white smoke.
It's either white or black.
Right.
Yes.
They used to add wet straw to make it black if they couldn't find a...
Black is what, for an African Pope?
It's for not being able to... They have to tell the populace assembled in St Peter's Square whether or not they've come to a decision.
Since they banned smoking in the Vatican, quite a lot of people hang out the window for a fag, and it causes all sorts of trouble.
Can you imagine Catholic priests hanging out for a fag? It seems so unlikely. If we run the film on, in fact, it's 2 puffs that they give here.
That's how.
How.
And 2 puffs means all's well, apparently.
Yes.
It means everything's OK.
Looks more like a question mark there, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, actually. Right.
Do they do grammar, or...?
They should have got one of those light aircraft that can write in the sky. Just simple purchase.
What? Free drink?
A word like that. You see that? They're ahead of you.
They got good, didn't they?
They did.
See, with the one before, I don't know if we can go back to it, but the one before, yes, we can. With that one there, which you say means all's well. But of course, I mean, that could so easily be the aftermath of this Indian's home going up in flames. They'd look over the hill and they go, do you think that's our place? No, it says all's well. It's fine. They just carry on their way.
You're right, it is confusing.
But we used to do this with these signal bonfires, didn't we? They went across the country.
Absolutely
But again, the same beacons, the same problem there. It might be, oh, look, there's an invasion, or it could just be the Great Fire of London's happening and bring water.
Oh, yeah, if you accidentally set that to your beacon, that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Was that before or after email?
It's close.
Yeah.
They were spamming, though. You'd get endless streams. Do you want a bigger cock?
What about...
Is that how you get a bigger cock? Slapping it around like that? I think with me it would have the opposite effect, to be honest. I think it into my shell.
I think you find it works for a while.
So let's get straight down to business. Question 1. Does the Pope eat beaver? Sure not.
I would say yes.
The Pope does eat beaver?
Yeah, because he's a Pope. He can have whatever he wants.
He can have whatever he wants, but can he, as a good Catholic, have whatever he wants, for example, on a Friday in Lent? Yes.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you want to do it again, do it again.
This is like the early learning centre.
Well, wasn't there a plan a few years ago to reintroduce beaver into Scotland?
I didn't hear about
that. But the Pope ate it.
Yeah, but it's said to taste rather like beef, actually.
Yeah. They really are like little people's arms.
They are. I think that is a person. That's the Pope there.
His hand. Oh, I see, the one on the right.
Oh, you mean those little ones? No, you're right, his front paws.
Look at his hand, they are like little hands.
They are, yeah.
But
yes. That's what the Pope's thinking. He's actually looking and going, yes, he's got little hands.
They've asked him, say, are you ready to order? And he's going, shall I have beaver?
Here we are. I mentioned Friday in Lent. What do Catholics not eat on Fridays in Lent?
Meat.
Meat. Flesh, as in animal flesh that isn't
They have
fish. They eat fish. Yeah. And the Roman Catholic Church has designated beaver as a fish because it is scaly and lives in water.
So, at all these little schools, primary schools all over Italy, they have beaver and chips and peas on a Friday?
Probably more likely in American Catholic countries.
Well,
the capybara, which is the largest rodent on Earth, which is a South American rodent, 400 tons of it are eaten during Lent in Venezuela alone. Capybaras are likewise designated to be a fish. The Pope would, if he were to eat, he would probably eat them on a Friday in Lent, as he might a capybara. How would you suppose you might tell the sex
They're
of
only male.
one beaver from another?
One male would have a
no,
penis.
they have males and females. Well, yes, but it's quite hard
and
to
the female
spot.
would have a beaver.
Yeah.
I can't have a beaver's beaver.
I want to talk about anal excretions.
Now, I was just about to...
Please,
I was about to bring
yes.
that point up because in the anal scent glands of the beaver has secreted a substance which is actually found in aspirin.
You're absolutely right. I'm going to give you 5 points for that. It's correct. It's called castoreum. It's been used as a medicine for hundreds of years. It's called castoreum.
Castoreum.
As in castor the beaver. And it contains salicylic acid, as you rightly say.
If you've got a headache, you...
Yeah.
Rimming a
Lick
beaver.
out a beaver. That's quite right. But so often, unfortunately, the beaver's got a headache anyway and won't let you do it. Which is the largest lake in Canada?
Width or depth?
Not depth. Not
Can
depth.
I attempt an answer at this?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Oh, dear. We were predicting that one.
Yeah, who cares?
There are so many lakes in Canada, more than 1 million in Manitoba alone.
Yes.
And you can buy a lake and have it named after you. It's because the water doesn't drain away. There's no water table.
You can, but the one's really, really big. It's bigger than Albania. It's bigger
Is it one
than
of the
Belgium.
Great Lakes technically Canadian? Are they all?
No, you've avoided our little trap there, actually, which Joe didn't by saying who cares. If you'd said one of the Great Lakes, it would have been a big noise because this lake has to be entirely in Canada.
What's the difference between largest and biggest?
Well, in other languages, largest mean widest, I suppose, and biggest being just greatest in size. But largest we now mean to mean biggest. It originally meant wide. Large is wide in French, isn't it?
Right. Thanks.
I mean, we are very lucky because we have both Latin and the Romance languages and the Anglo-Saxon languages to draw on, so we can say big and large.
Yeah.
Say little and small.
Little and large.
Little and large, indeed. Funny enough, when you said the deepest lake, the deepest lake is Lake Manitou. And Lake Manitou is a weird lake because it's also got the largest lake island in the world in it. And that island has got a lake in it, which is the largest lake in an island that's in a lake in the world.
This just goes on to infinity.
It does, doesn't it? No, the answer is the Great Bear Lake. None of the 5 Great Lakes is entirely in Canada, you see. What were the first words spoken from the surface of the moon? How appropriate, Sean.
Hello? Can you hear me? It was...
It was the clangers, was it?
It's the
got there
clangers.
first.
But it wasn't one small step for man, because he hadn't gone on yet.
Very true. Very good. So what else was it?
He was like, come on down, Neil, it's fine. It's fine, don't worry about it. What's the big deal?
Golf clubs.
Yeah.
Great to be here in Philadelphia. I mean, the moon.
Well, let's sort out who said it. Who said the first human words uttered on the surface of the moon?
Neil Armstrong.
No.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yes, it was Buzz. He was in charge of the steering of the module as it landed, and 102 hours, 45 minutes and 25 seconds in, he was saying 4 forward, 4 forward, drifting to the right a little. That's good, that's good. Something garbled, and then contact light. And the contact light that showed they had landed was on. Those were the first words spoken. Not the eagle has landed, and certainly not small
This
step.
is the moon. This is the end of the line. Please, please make sure you have all your bags and all your personal possessions.
What do you know about Buzz Aldrin otherwise?
His dad had a sense of humour.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, he called him Buzz.
Ah, but he didn't. He called him Edward Eugene Aldrin Jr.
His sister...
Still, I think I'm right, actually.
His sister called him Buzz, because she couldn't say brother, so she'd say Buzzer, and he became Buzz. He eventually made it his legal name.
He had the hand of a monkey.
Very good. What was his mother's maiden name? Surely you know that.
Smith, Brown, Jones.
Moon.
Moon is the right answer. Well done.
Did you know that?
I'm sure you can help us a little bit, Nina, on the history of ventriloquism.
Well, I know that it has a very dark history and that ventriloquists used to earn their living as if their words were divine utterances.
Yes, that's the point.
Yes. Not you, Ian.
Sorry, I was listening, but then my hand came out and it felt quite shocked myself.
That's really disturbing.
It's quite disturbing.
Really disturbing. That's horrible. That's like Alien.
It's like Lady Gaga's sleeves.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. It was regarded as a divine utterance or demonic possession, in fact, wasn't it?
And I know one woman died from her ventriloquism.
Who was that?
But I don't know her name, I bet you do. With her utterances, she was objecting to the marriage of Henry VIII.
To Anne Boleyn.
To Anne Boleyn.
Her name was Elizabeth Barton, and she was known as the Holy Maid of Kent. And she was a very good ventriloquist, and so these voices would come without her mouth moving, as it were, from her stomach.
Nice
in which she would say things, and she became very, very popular until she started to say...
The bloke looking at her tits.
Yeah, well... we wouldn't do that.
You've got yours out as well tonight, Ian. Is that to distract from the lip movement?
And she did very well. She was very popular until she said that if Henry VIII married Anne Boleyn, he would be deposed, and Henry VIII didn't like that, also had her head chopped off. And ironically, her head was put on top of a pole outside.
And carried on talking.
Well, you wonder that. It is quite a strange fate for a ventriloquist to have their head stuck on a pole. But she was indeed, she suffered for her art. But in the 19th century, it became known to be a piece of entertainment rather than demonic spirits. Now, which popular game traditionally ends with all the players being thrown into a lake of fiery sulphur?
Well, I hope it's show jumping. I hate show jumping. Oh, God. I'd have one of those after every jump.
Before and after.
Yeah.
It's not show jumping, though. It would certainly liven it up.
It sounds biblical.
I don't think it's the humans, though, it's pieces. Wouldn't it be pieces?
Well, I'll tell you that it's a game that went dramatically out of fashion in 1972. Early 72, it was more popular than Monopoly. But by the end of 72, it had almost completely gone out of fashion because of a film.
Mousetrap. Mousetrap.
No, there is no film of
Because of a
Mousetrap.
film. Is it Drafts? Remember that film? Drafts. The truth about drafts.
No.
Drafts makes you go bored. Don't play drafts.
The film is not a game, there's a game in it. This game is played in it, and it's scary.
Oh, is it a séance?
Yeah, it is a séance using a Ouija board.
OK.
And what film has there a Ouija board?
The
Exorcist is the right answer. One of the truly great films of the 20th century.
Is a Ouija board really a game? I don't remember ever seeing Ouija board scenes in a film and at the end going, right, who won?
Not dead. Well, the odd thing about Ouija, it was a board, it still belongs to Parker Brothers.
Get out!
Yeah. Ouija is a proprietary name, it's a trademark.
Is it We-Ya?
Interesting point. That is some people's theory of the name of it is, yes, two words for yes, we, the French, and Ya, the German, but no one's quite sure about where the name came from, except that it's a game that was invented. The board was invented and it was sold and people played it. I mean, it's weird to say that, but they enjoyed the fact that it nearly always works in as much as, you know, people spell out words and they don't quite know how they're doing it. It's clearly not dead people.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was not originally supposed to be dead people. It was supposed to be that you contacted yourselves, a part of yourselves that automatically wrote. It was not about seances.
Dead people just joined in. This is good. This is the one for us.
Even when recently asked, only a third of the people who still use Ouija boards say they do it to contact dead people. And in the First World War, it was used to contact your troops abroad, supposedly.
So, hold on. Are some dead people trying to communicate with the living through Monopoly?
Yeah. There was a court case in the 90s, I'm sorry to say, in Britain, a murder case, quite an important one, and the jury had to be dismissed because in their hotel overnight, they used a Ouija board to try and contact the murdered person. And apparently the murdered person said, the guy in the dock is guilty, convict him. And so the judge heard about it and dismissed the jury, quite rightly, you may say. But the awful thing was, if they'd done it in the jury room, the judge couldn't have dismissed them. Because the judge has no right in law to know what goes on in a jury room. The deliberations must be private.
Unless he's dead.
Ah, yeah, that's really complicated.
Was the guy guilty?
Unfortunately, he was retried and found guilty, which sort of is really irritating. So maybe the ghost of the murdered person did.
Where's the competitive element?
Suppose you just have a go.
Yeah.
Who are you trying to contact? Right, it's your turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you contact two dead people and then they box.
And then they tell you how it went. Ghost boxing.
Ghost boxing? On Sky Sports 2! Live ghost boxing from Auntie Vera's parlour.
That's it, people in sheets.
Yeah. The headless man, he's already down.
It's just going like that. It's trying to punch you.
Do you know there's an Elvis...
Yeah. There we go. Go on. Hit me. Hit me.
There's an Elvis seance website.
Of course there is. I bet there's more than one of those.
Yeah. Where you contact Elvis.
Online?
But it cautions, if you wish to repeat this experiment, please be considerate. Many people may wish to contact Elvis, and we're sure he's quite busy. Please treat this information...
For eternity.
Yes, please treat this information the same as you would if he were alive and you had his email address, with respect. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? A sort of posthumous Twitter and things like that. That would be hell, I have to say.
You just thought of that.
Yeah.
You're in it up to your neck.
Oh, God. Horrifying. But the reference in the Bible to the fiery lake or whatever is from Revelations, where it does say those who practice the magic arts will be cast into burning sulphur. So,
How about balloon animals?
Ooh, the punishment for people who do balloon animals is not specified in Revelation.
You're off.
I think it's loneliness, the punishment for them.
Yeah.
I think it's long nights, sitting alone.
So, yeah, in my youth, games which conjured up the spirits of the dead were a popular gift for children. It's a weird